Hello and welcome. Since last month, 2 men have been charged with separate murders as a direct result of Crimewatch appeals. One of them, of course, concerns the attack on Josie Russell and her mother and sister in Kent last year. Tonight, another murder appeal, a spate of sex attacks on children and an armed robbery in which it's possible a young boy was involved.
Over a period of 4 years, a series of sickening attacks on children has been going on in Surrey. There's a horribly familiar pattern. Schoolboys are waylaid at or near Riddlesdown Common between Wallingham and Kenley. For some reason, there was a break in the attacks from autumn 1994, but they started again this summer. It's been a frustrating inquiry for detectives because there are so many clues and such good descriptions, but until tonight, the sex offenders not been traced.
Every time I hear a helicopter go over, I think, oh no, not again, please. And I'm thinking, don't let it be another son that's being hurt by this man again. My son explained what the man had tried to do. And it's like a mother's worst nightmare come true. I shiver to think what might have happened if the helicopter hadn't been there.
It wasn't entirely coincidence the helicopter had been overhead. This was March 1994 and the third in a series of child molestations on Riddlesdown Common. Six months later, September 1994, and on his second day at his new school, a child had lost his way. He asked a man in a black and white check shirt for directions and was led onto Riddlesdown Common.
Each time there's a new attack, and I know a boy has been hurt,
help!
I feel for that boy, but then I also, as a mother myself, feel for the mother and the families, because I know what they're going through.
Then, after September 1994, the pattern of offences stopped.
Search for a male concerned in a serious indecent assault, about age 40 years, with greying hair.
Patrols continued, but it was as though the offender had moved away. Then, this summer, Friday at the end of June.
I don't normally see anybody going up to work, but this particular morning I saw this rather strange-looking man. I had to look at him twice. He had these short jogging bottoms on, which made me sort of feel that he was perhaps a bit peculiar or sort of something strange about him.
What was he doing in Wallingham out at 6:45 in the morning? Was he waiting for kids to go to school?
Oh, come on, we're going to be late.
And where did he go on a drizzly day until lunchtime? He was seen by a teacher, again on Tithe Pitshaw Lane, at 12:30. Three hours later, 2 boys returned home after school, taking a path across Riddlesdown Common.
Where's the ball? Put it in my bag. Shut up, he'll hear us.
Turn around.
Please, sir, don't hurt us.
Not if you do exactly what I say, I won't hurt you.
Oh, please, no.
Don't look at me.
I interview lots of children, and I think that these two boys were remarkable. They were able to remember so much. They were very mature and very brave.
Take your coats off, put them over your heads.
Given the serious sexual assault that they'd suffered. They were terrified. They didn't know what was going to happen to them. And this man throughout the attack was telling them that he was going to kill them. I think it was quite remarkable. They had the presence of mind to leave a carrier bag at the scene in order that they could tell the police exactly where this offence had happened. They remembered that he wore black high-tech training shoes with a gold high-tech sign on either the side or the front of the shoe. Also that he had grey jogging trousers with a Fruit of the Loom sign just below the pockets at the front of the trousers. They remembered that he wore a grey jumper that was very dirty and that had patches of paint on it. The paint was a reddy pink and also white blotches.
You do what I say, you won't get hurt.
Threats were mixed with reassurance. The man was about 40, short and fat, with a round face and double chin. He had a small mouth, dark stubble and yellow teeth. He was about 5'5" in height, with a beer belly. He had greying, scruffy hair with tufts on top, and had a musty smell about him.
What time is it?
It's 4:15.
Right. You'll have to wait until 20 past.
When the boys explained to me that when the attack had finished, they remained with their coats over their heads, and they were told by this man that they weren't to move until they heard the signal from him. But the OK never came. And both boys remained where they were and didn't want to move for fear that this man would kill them.
Shall we go now? No, it isn't okay yet.
It was difficult to decide to do this interview. But I felt, although it happened to my son a few years ago, it's still happening to someone else's son. By doing this interview, I feel that it may in some way help bring this man closer to being caught.
Graham, what will get him caught? Tell us everything you know about him.
Well, he's a man who's not particularly well educated. He's probably a loner, probably single. Anyone who's close to him and knows him will think that he's a bit odd. He may well be unemployed. His scruffy appearance and his smelly appearance probably indicates that he's living rough, or at least in fairly squalid conditions. He might well talk about these offences to
other people about them.
He might get some sort of pleasure in quite frequently talking about these offences, and it might make people suspect that he is the offender, and we need to hear from that person before he attacks any other children.
In one of the attacks, either he had a cold or else he's got a habit of clearing his throat.
That's
I know.
right.
Now, he's short, 5'5", he's fairly fat, he's balding, as you say, he's got bad breath. He had these distinctive clothes that the children were able to describe, and above all, the Fruit of the Vine logo on the tracksuit bottom. Fruit of the Loom, rather. The interesting thing about these was that they were still very short, even though the guy himself was quite short.
They were several inches above his ankle, which might mean they're children's.
OK, this gap in the offending between September 1994 and June 97, what do you think he was doing then? What happened in that 2 years, 9 months?
The obvious explanation is that perhaps he was in prison or in some sort of institution. It may be that the gap was an apparent gap, and in fact there may have been an offence or offences in that time that weren't reported to the police, or maybe took place in some other part of the country and have been connected with this series of offences. We would want to speak to anyone who suspects that they know of an offence that might have been committed by this man, especially if it hasn't been reported to the police yet.
OK. If he was in an institution, of course, certainly by June he was able to be out at 6:45 in the morning,
That's right.
So wherever he was living then at that stage. If there's any way that you can help, please do call us straight away. It's easy to eliminate someone if it's not the right person. There's a substantial reward as well. Here's the free call number, 0500 600 600. Do please make the call if you think there's anything you know, 0500 600 600. Alternatively, try the incident room on 0181 667 1212. 0181 667 1212. You might like to know that the police are now looking at new ways of tackling serial crimes like these. And one of those working on the project at the National Crime Faculty is our own Detective Constable Jackie Hames. Here she is with some of her own appeals.
First, a man with a rather adaptable name. His real one is Mohammed Farik Salim, but you might know him by a different name. He was picked up by police with a Portuguese ID card, an Italian driving licence and a British national insurance number, all in the name of Santiago. He's been charged with attempted deception in connection with fraud involving credit cards. He failed to appear in court, so if you know where he is, please call us 0500 600 600 or call the incident room in St Albans on 01727 796 003. That's St Albans 796 003. Now to this man. He's entering a bank in the West End of London and he's got credit cards and a chequebook that have just been stolen from a customer in a nearby wine bar. He's tubby with a ruddy complexion, mid-40s with receding hair. An hour later, and here he is at a jeweller's in Kensington. He's buying a lady's Cartier watch. Maybe he later gave it to you or tried to sell it to you. If you know who he is, do call us straight away, 0500 600 600 or West End Central Police Station on 0171 321 8878. That's 0171 321 8878.
Now a tragic case and a tragic victim. Julie Smith lived in Hull on Humberside. She'd endured disastrous relationships and her children were no longer living with her. For all that, though, she had a tough personality and strong family support. But someone must have had a powerful grudge against her. 10 weeks ago, at the end of August, that spite got out of hand.
We'll also have the latest round of our daily word search competition. So why not stay with
Julie was 33 and was living alone after her second marriage broke up acrimoniously. Such was the turmoil that she'd now been separated from all 5 of her children for almost a year. She missed them terribly.
Coming up in the next 2.5 hours, we have a touch of the old and a touch of the new as we talk antiques and documentaries. Why not stay with us here on BBC Radio Homicide for the next 2.5 hours on 95.9 FM.
She did love her children very much. They came first. I used to go to her house and she was playing with them football in the garden or hide and seek. She never held back. She always had to tell you what she thought of you, and there was a few arguments in her lifetime, but one thing about Julie, no matter who she upset or what she said, she always came round the next day and apologised.
Julie had lived on Bransholme Estate for nearly 15 years, and as well as her mother, had other relatives nearby. She often made a half-mile walk to see one of her sisters.
Oh, good girl. Well done. Yeah.
She was lonely the last few months when she didn't have her kids. If she had any problems, she'd come to me because I had the same amount of kids as what she did, same age range. I miss Julie coming because she was the closest, you know what I mean? I always knew that Julie was going to come. You know, sometime during the day, so I always knew I was going to have some company.
Hiya. You're right. A coffee. Oh, lovely, yeah. Hiya. Where's that brother of yours, eh? Oh, here he is. Come on, Sarah, number 2 to me. Oh, lovely. Tickles off.
When Julie came, the kids got real excited, come running in. Just was all shouting, Julie's coming, Julie's coming.
I'll finish with the Uva.
Have you?
Yeah, you can have that back.
Sure you don't want it any longer?
No, I've been all over with it. So.
That night she was in a lovely mood, and she was laughing and joking, and she was all right. And said she was going home to get a bath and go to bed. And I'd see her in the morning to take her over, because she wanted me to take her over early in the morning.
I'm decorating you on a bit longer.
Yeah.
When?
I'll see you.
Ta-ra. I'll see you then. You right?
And then it was the last us over. Can't believe it's happened. I still believe she's going to come back. We're just going to walk in.
Tuesday, the 26th of August at about 10:30 p.m, and neighbours were heading for a pizza.
I wanted to come back here, and I found you again.
The argument was so fierce, the mother decided not to take her children past the house.
I'm good and ready. No one you want me to.
Come on, let's go home. I'll do you some chips when we get home.
It's now an hour and a quarter later.
I was walking down to Mum's to get some sick papers, walking past Julie's. I could hear them arguing, you know, rough voices and a woman's voice, saying to get out and that lot.
Sometime that night, someone sprayed graffiti on Julie's window with carpet adhesive. Who was it, and why?
Why? Because I want to do my front room.
We know Julie was on the phone to relatives that night until about midnight. About the same time, a cyclist was seen not far away. But he stopped and looked around as though trying to avoid someone. Then he cycled back in the direction of Julie's house. Again, about 12:30, these young men were noticed heading towards the back of Julie's house. These three are crucial witnesses. Were you among them? Sometime after midnight in Rishworth Close on Tuesday night, the 26th of August. At 1 o'clock, neighbours were alerted by screams.
Round the back! What are we going to do? Hey, what's going on? The house is on fire! Right, I'll come down.
Just wanted to help her. It was just horrible. I wanted to, but I just couldn't. I tried, but just couldn't get in.
Is there anyone in there? Yeah, there's a woman still inside. I hear the screaming. Are you trying to get in?
You never get in!
If I could have helped her, I would have done, but it was too much of light. I couldn't get to her.
Get the ambo!
As shocked neighbours gathered, a man attracted attention because despite the drama of the fire, he simply walked on past. He was late 20s, early 30s, short to medium height, with a blue and white rugby shirt. Julie was brought out unconscious with 12% burns, but suffering most from smoke inhalation. Firemen fought to revive her until the ambulance arrived. She survived, but 2 days later, she died.
I believe, that she would fight, if not for herself, but for the children. I did believe that to the last minute. The worst part of it is, there's 5 children, and they're going to grow up without a mother, and that is... I don't wish that on anybody. Never mind losing a daughter, and they all lost a sister, but it's the children I really feel sorry for,
Well, Graham Bullock, a dreadful crime, and as Julie's mother says, your heart goes out to her children. How can viewers help tonight?
Yes, it is a horrific crime. Julie was a 33-year-old mother of 5 young children. The response from the public so far has been fairly good. It is clear, however, that there are a number of people that we still haven't traced or haven't come forward for one reason or another. I would hope that through this we can actually speak to those. It is vital that we speak to them. They may just hold that crucial bit of evidence that we need.
Well, let's look at the ones that were featured in the film, particularly the man at the end who was in the blue and white rugby shirt. Why specifically do you want to trace him?
He was seen by at least 2 people sometime after the fire, walking close to the scene. The important thing there, of course, is that having seen all the furore and everything, he carried on walking by, which was suspicious in itself. What we do know about the sort of psychology of this sort of offence is that people who commit this type of offence often return to the scene. That may or may not be the case in this instance, but still it's vitally important that we speak to that man.
And the person acting suspiciously, perhaps on a bicycle, and also the 3 youths walking past Julie's house, all after midnight that night.
Yes, again, very important that we speak to them. It might well be that those more in the capacity of witnesses, but we haven't traced them. It's vital that we do speak to them.
Now, it wasn't the first arson attack on that estate. There had been a spate of them, I understand. Do you think this was part of that series, or do you think it really was a personal grudge?
I'm not making a specific connection, although it is probably pertinent that there have been a number of, not similar fires, but fires in the area where outhouses, sheds, that sort of thing have been set on fire. The thing that probably makes this more personal to Julie is the graffiti that was on the wall. I'm sure that personalises it. I think this was a specific attack on that house.
Do you know what it said?
No, unfortunately, it's not decipherable at the moment. It's with the Forensic Science Service, but we haven't been able to make out the exact wording. We are obviously keen to trace anybody that saw that being sprayed or has any idea who actually sprayed it, or indeed what it says.
Crucially, there were those arguments, weren't there?
Yes, there were. That's very significant as far as we're concerned. Julie was arguing with a man sometime within a couple of hours before the fire. It's obviously very important that we actually trace that man and speak to him. We haven't yet traced him.
Graham Bullock, thank you. If you have any suspicions, I know it may not be easy to call, but this was a terrible crime. Please ring in to help. It's a free call, 0500 600 600. You can talk to a Crimewatch researcher or to a police officer, 0500 600 600. Or try the incident room if you prefer in Hull on 01482 796 271. That's Hull 796 271.
There are stacks of calls coming at the moment, especially on the Riddlesdown Common attacks. In fact, one call really quite remarkable, though it could be a coincidence, and somebody thinks that she's actually seen the offender today. More of that later, but let me tell you some of the results from last month's Crimewatch. And there seems to have been a common theme. After appearing on October's programme, lots of people handed themselves into the police.
Well, a man phoned about a murder appeal on the night of the programme and surrendered himself at a police station the following morning. He's been charged with killing 77-year-old Elizabeth Baxter in Plaistow in East London. Also, as a direct result, one man's been charged with wounding, another with assault and robbery, and a third man's being questioned about indecency with a child.
And remember the rape of a child in Primrose Valley in Whitkirk in Leeds. One name seemed promising on the night of the appeal, but in fact that person's now been eliminated. On the other hand, there's another very strong lead as a result of the programme, and we'll tell you more about that when we can. Then the murder of George Dean, the elderly man stabbed in a laundrette. A key witness came forward after our appeal, and one man is soon to go on an identity parade. But the inquiry is still open.
Finally, Operation Tornado, a joint police initiative after a series of robberies across the northwest of England, the Midlands and North Wales, all committed by one man in his 50s. We had over 30 calls, but the man's not been identified and his crime spree has continued. The last time was in Shropshire. So if you know him, please do give us a call, 0500 600 600. And now here's Chief Superintendent David Hatcher.
Now a man who's appeared on Crimewatch before, back in 1989. Viewers helped trace a helicopter he owned to Miami International Airport in Florida, but the man himself, Paul James Bennett, disappeared before extradition papers could be served. He was wanted for a series of frauds in Aberdeen, London and at his home in New Zealand. Eventually he was traced to South Africa and put on a plane to Heathrow. A complex legal dispute started about the technicalities of his arrest. In the 4 years it took to resolve, Paul Bennett disappeared. He was thought to be at Odense Airport in Denmark 2 years ago, where a man leased a helicopter later found in Kent. Paul Bennett is 40, 5'6", with short, dark, curly hair and a mole or wart under his mouth. Aberdeen police have a warrant for his arrest. He uses lots of different names, including Paul Gardner. He tells people he deals in expensive cars. He runs several helicopter companies and that his family were killed in a car crash. If you've seen him, 0500 600 600, that's here to the studio, or call Grampian Police on 01224 649 977. That's Aberdeen 649 977.
Now a new twist to the inquiry into widespread sex abuse at children's homes. The worst excesses are said to have taken place in the 1970s and early 80s, and we're anxious to trace one man who may be able to help. He was a house parent at the time and we need to talk to him. He's Patrick Duggan, and the only pictures we have of him are from when he was working at Wessington Court School, Hereford, 15 or 20 years ago. The school has since been closed and Mr Duggan would now be in his 50s. This is an impression of how he might look now. Mr Duggan, if you are watching, please call in tonight and help clear this investigation up. And if you've seen Patrick Duggan or if you were at Wessington Court School and have anything to add, please call us now, 0500 600 600, and other detectives are standing by in Hereford. They're on 01432 276 422. That's Hereford 276 422.
Let me tell you a bit more about the calls we're getting on the Riddlesdown Common attacks. At a guess, and this is a guess because we just haven't been able to collate them so far, I reckon there have been 100 calls so far. Some very, very good responses indeed, a lot of names. To one woman in particular who's called, who thinks that she knows the man very, very well indeed. Remember, we can eliminate the man, if it's the wrong one, very quickly indeed. Now, you may have seen in the papers, there seems to be a growing problem of people coming into Britain on false passports. Many of the forgeries are British, which shows there's a failure in the passport system somewhere. And here are some of the pictures which don't match names in which the documents were issued. This could be a chance to break one of the gangs who run the trade. Their method is pretty unscrupulous. They pirate the identities of dead children. But their weakness is, of course, if you're dealing in false travel documents, you've still got to have a photo of the passport holder. And if you recognise any of these faces, please call us right away. Please look carefully. Please think these 5 people either live in Britain or visit Britain frequently. It's a free call number, 0500 600 600, or you can call the incident room 01703 454 711. Southampton 454 711.
Once or twice before, we've appealed about dreadful cases in which a young woman was abducted, bundled into a car and raped. Well, now it's happened again. 4 months ago, on a bright summer's day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, an 18-year-old Asian student was walking along Praed Street near Paddington Station in London. 2 men seemed to be following her, and when she turned into a side street, they grabbed her at knife point and blindfolded her. Now, that was in St Michael's Street. This is what they looked like, both in their late 30s. The one with the dreadlocks and a nose ring held her, and the other one went off to get a car. This second man is small and bald with a goatee beard. At this point, the victim heard an elderly woman ask what was going on, and the knifeman said it was a surprise birthday present, and that's why she was blindfolded. Well, we need to find that woman. Was it you, or do you know someone who said that she'd witnessed such a thing? The victim was then bundled into a small 4-door car with torn seats and leather or plastic trim. Now, have you ever seen a woman with a blindfold sitting in the back of a car with 2 men? You'd remember it, and perhaps you thought it was a prank. Well, they drove away, possibly up Edgware Road and then onto the A40. It was Wednesday, July the 2nd. It was a hot day, and drivers with windows down might have noticed loud rap music coming from the car. The men were drinking cans of beer. After about an hour, the car stopped and the woman heard a conversation with what seemed to be the owner of a house or a flat. The 2 men were asking for a room for the night. Was it you they were asking? The victim was held for a total of 19 hours before being abandoned in a small cul-de-sac called High Street in Wembley at 11 o'clock the following morning. Well, DCI Andrew Silly is hunting the kidnappers. It's a horrific ordeal, thankfully a very rare one. How is she coping with this?
Yes, that's right. It was a terrifying experience for the lady concerned, and one about which we'll never be able to express the full extent of the horror that she had to live through. But slowly, and with the help of her family, she's trying to rebuild her life.
Now, you're looking for specific witnesses, not least that elderly lady we were talking about just now.
That's correct. If that lady's listening, she could have vital information about the car that was used in the offence, or if you're a friend of that lady who had the story relayed to you, then you also might be able to help us significantly. The lady who asked what was going on went away thinking that the man who was holding the girl was a good chap, a good lad, because of surprising her with a new birthday present.
What more do you know about these men?
Well, the larger of the 2 black men at the time of the offence was wearing a red polo-type T-shirt with smart blue baggy jeans. The one with petite build and the bald head was wearing a black and white striped, vertical striped Reebok top and tatty blue jeans which were torn at the legs and perhaps importantly had paint splashes over them. He may have been a builder or a decorator. If you work with someone with that description, please let us know.
As you said, we don't quite know the route that was taken. It may have been along the A40, but it was a hot summer's day. You may remember slowing down and being alongside a car like this. Now, you don't know the destination either, but what do you know about the accommodation they went into?
We know that when they arrived at the house in question, they went to an upstairs room. It was a small room with a small window in it. Some of the walls were painted green from ceiling to floor. The other walls had white wallpaper with vertical gold stripes on. The room had a red carpet.
Okay, thank you very much.
What I would say is that it must be any woman's worst nightmare, an ordeal such as that. It's got to be the worst nightmare for any parent with a daughter, any brother with a sister. The man who answered the doorbell and let them into the room knows that these people entered that house. And what I would say is to him, think about what happened and let us know.
Do you think those men may have been there before?
Well, it's possible. As a result of the conversation they had, they may well have been there before. And what I would say is that if people out there recognise the descriptions of these individuals and have heard them talking at a party or at a pub out of a misplaced sense of bravado about an incident such as this, think about the horrific nature of this ordeal. Put yourself into the shoes of the victim or the family and let us know who these people are.
Now, there is forensic evidence here, so suspects can be eliminated. If you can help in any way, please call us now on 0500 600 600 or phone the incident room on 0171 321 9600. That's 0171 321 9600. And now back to David Hatcher again.
6 weeks ago at Euston in London, someone got on a Manchester train and before it left the station took a passenger's wallet from his jacket. A few minutes later, this man appeared at a nearby bank and tried to cash one of the cheques and get money on the credit card. Next day, the same man was in Birmingham. This time, he tried to make a huge withdrawal, but he was rumbled. Even so, he got away. And 2 days later, here he is in Bristol. Another try-on, and this time he managed a modest cash withdrawal. Then Bournemouth 2 weeks later, and then again in London. Who is this man? He's 5'11", but slightly built. Late 30s or early 40s, sometimes with a moustache, but sometimes not. 0500 600 600 or British Transport Police on 0171 957 1123. That's 0171 957 1123.
Now, another case in which a handbag theft or loss of a wallet has led to a trail of crime across the country. This man walked into a computer store in Leeds with a card that had been stolen from an office in Camillon near Falkirk. The sales staff were suspicious and went off to make inquiries, but the customer then disappeared. If you know who he is, do give us a ring, 0500 600 600 or 0500 040 999. That's a free call, 0500 040 999.
Next, to a jeweller's in Surrey at Kingston upon Thames, southwest of London. There was a raid there 3 months ago by gunmen, and it's a crime which might have involved a child as young as 13. Or was that just coincidence?
Thursday, August the 7th, in Thames Street.
I've worked in the jewellery trade for over 47 years and I've been in the Kingston branch for 5 years.
It's got the gold Rolexes there on the tray. Look, the expensive ones.
Oh, hello. I just thought I'd better tell you there's some young boys outside looking at your Rolex watches, and they're saying you've got the expensive ones on the tray.
Thank you for telling us. We'll keep an eye on them.
Being very conscious of security, we locked the front door and we took most of the expensive Rolex and Cartier out the window and locked them away in the safe.
What are the locks like on the windows?
I could see they were still stood there. The one doing the talking was about 19 or 20, about 5'9" or so. He had straight dark hair, and it looked like it was dirty. He had long sideburns and 2 earrings in his left ear. He had a local London accent, but it wasn't Cockney. There were 2 others with him. One was about the same age and a similar height, maybe about 5'11", and he had very blonde, short-cropped hair. The young boy looked about 13. He was quite small and slim. The next time I looked out, one of them came back and he was drinking out of a can. Then they just disappeared. Hello, can I help you?
Over the next couple of hours, the shop was very busy, and it seemed all right to unlock the door.
My daughter, who lives in Canada, was over on holiday, and we went into the jeweller's shop to buy her a necklace, which was to be a keepsake from her father.
Yeah, can we take that one?
This is a raid! Get your effing head down or I'll blow it off! Get it down! And you, get your heads down! If you do what you're told, you won't get hurt.
Open the windows. Where are the keys?
Don't let me.
Open up the Rolex and the Cartier.
Well, when I saw the gun, I knew it was real. I didn't want to panic him, and I was thinking of the safety of the customers and the staff. So I just obeyed his instructions completely. I just wanted to live.
Stay down there.
Excuse me, have you got a mobile phone?
No,
I think
sorry.
there's a robbery going on over there.
No, sorry, I haven't.
Okay, that's enough. Let's go. If anyone looks up, we'll shoot you through the window.
Have you got a mobile? I think there's a robbery going on over
No,
there.
I haven't got one.
It surprised me on how relaxed they looked. They just walked towards the River Thames, very casually, and seemed very pleased with themselves.
Are you all right? Are you all right? You can get up now.
Have they gone?
Yes, they've gone.
Are they on their way?
I was walking along by the river. There was two chaps coming towards me. They both had dark type of biking gear on, and I just thought that they looked out of place in the clothing that they were wearing for such a hot day.
The two men disappeared as they reached Kingston Bridge.
Now, Ron Harvey, you think that the people in the morning were connected with the robbery in the afternoon, but why would they go and recce a robbery with a 13-year-old child in tow?
Good question, but I think the reason probably is it was because of the date it was, the 7th of August, and the school holidays. And they probably had to take him with them.
Obviously, the key witness there is the woman who came in and very helpfully warned the shopkeeper.
Yeah.
The woman, that is, with the dog, but you don't know who she is?
No, she was good enough to tell the staff, but didn't leave her name and address. We'd like her to come forward because you think she's probably got more information for us.
In the meantime, you've at least got an e-fit because the shop assistant clocked one of them very well.
A very good e-fit of the white male, aged about 19 to 20, 5'9" tall, with a distinctive dark hairstyle with very long sideburns.
Now, the description of the robbers in the afternoon is taller than that. I think it's about 6 foot. I don't know, in the films, someone described them maybe almost brothers. They were so close together.
Yeah.
They had black helmets, which might be distinctive.
Yeah, they were both black VMAR helmets. This was a professional robbery, and the chances are the helmets were purchased for the robbery, so there may be a shopkeeper that remembers selling 2 helmets to the same person.
Now, where did they go next? When they went up towards the bridge, they went up the steps, what happened then?
We think almost certainly they were collected by a vehicle, the getaway vehicle, and the shop security cameras caught a van driving slowly past the premises just before the robbery, and then as the robbery starts to occur, it drives slowly back towards the bridge. Well, it's been identified as a Mitsubishi short wheelbase van, although we're not sure of the colour.
OK, this is Thursday the 7th of August. Now, obviously, you need to find the watches as well, particularly from people in the trade who might have been given Rolex or Cartiers. These are the types. Tell us about them.
Yeah,
Let's start with the Rolex.
Yeah, none of them have come to light yet. There's 38 of them altogether. The front 4 are Rolex Oysters. The first one's a lady date just. The second one's a gent's Rolex Oyster date. The third one's a silver-coloured gent's perpetual date just. And the last one is a lady's date just.
And the Cartier ones?
The Cartiers, the first one here is a gold Pantier ladies. The middle one is a black Cartier tank and the last one's a gent silver-coloured Santos wristwatch.
Now, I don't expect you got the serial numbers down, but they're all on CFAX on page 598. Page 598 of CFAX. So particularly if you're on the in the trade or bought one of these, look it up now. 598 of CFAX. Big reward, at least £10,000, I think. So if you can help at all, 0500 600 600, or the Flying Squad on 0181 247 7931. That's 0181 247 7931.
4 months ago, outside a pub at Middlesbrough in Cleveland, there was an argument among friends which developed into an ugly fight. One of the men was struck in the face with a glass. Fortunately, the injuries weren't serious, so the man stayed drinking. An hour later, a blue BMW cruised slowly past the pub. 7 shots were fired, 5 striking the earlier victim and 1 hitting a passerby. Both men survived and have recovered, but who were the gunmen? Detectives want to speak to 2 brothers, Jonathan and Jason Crossling, both from Middlesbrough. They may have been abroad for a while over the summer, but if you've seen them, please give us a call. 0500 600 600 here to the studio, or 01642 303 133 to the incident room. That's 01642 303 133.
Well, the most overwhelming response so far this evening has been to those child sex attacks on Riddlesdown Common in Surrey. 200 calls so far, 19 names have been suggested, and a number of calls as well on the Julie Smith murder. Now, although older people worry about the crime the most, the British Crime Survey shows that young males are by far the most common targets of theft and violence. And here's a case in point. 6 weeks ago, 2 men walked into Crystal Palace Station in South London. They just bought some chips. They confront a young traveller waiting on the platform. They threaten to kill him, steal his money, take his Walkman and march him out of the station to a building society where they force him to withdraw £150 in cash. But now their victim seizes his chance and refuses to hand over the money. The man runs off with his accomplice, who's been standing guard outside. This is a serious offence: threats, robbery and abduction. They must be caught before they do it again. Who are they? 0500 600 600 or British Transport Police on 0171 957 1123. That's 0171 957 1123.
And that's all for this month. Our lines are open until midnight. You'll see other numbers in a moment. They're also listed on CFAX on that page 598. Or you can email us, Crimewatch UK, that's cwuk@bbc.co.uk. And if you've any information on a crime we haven't covered, we'll try Crime Stoppers, 0800 555 111. We'll be back with an update at 11:50 tonight. If you can't stay up to then, we'll be back next month, Tuesday, December the 16th.
But before that, in 3 weeks' time from tonight, there's a one-off special called Crimewatch Still Unsolved. If you've ever wondered what happened to cases where we haven't reported an arrest, well, we're going back to investigations that have never closed. We'll bring you new clues and new reconstructions about some of the biggest crimes we've so far failed to crack. Maybe on second sight, you'll find that you can solve them. That's Crimewatch Still Unsolved, here on BBC One on Tuesday, the 2nd of December at 10 o'clock in the evening.
Meanwhile, tonight we've drawn together some pretty nasty crimes. We hope we are now on the way to solving them. Please, don't have nightmares. Sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
So that you're prepared to torture other people. It's weird.
Shove it over there, number 1.
Welcome back. Our phones have been especially busy tonight, I'm pleased to say. Encouraging responses to a majority of cases. The theft of expensive watches in Kingston upon Thames has brought a number of interesting leads and significant developments on our reconstruction of the murder of Julie Smith in Hull and our appeal for two men who abducted an 18-year-old student in West London. The most overwhelming response, though, has been to our first case this evening. Nick.
In fact, Graham, this must be one of the best results we've ever had in terms of numbers. It's an appalling series of attacks on children on Riddlesdown Common in Surrey. The sequence started 4 years ago, and then there was a 3-year break. Then they started again this summer.
Turn around.
Please, sir, don't hurt us.
Not if you do exactly what I say, I won't hurt you.
Dreadful series of crimes, but such a phenomenal response. I mean, you've been overwhelmed, the truth is, haven't you?
We've had hundreds of calls in the studio and over 100, getting on for 200 calls in the incident room as well.
And you've had difficulty handling the calls in the incident room, so people really
They've
ought
had
to keep
problems with the
trying.
phones in the incident room, so yes, we want people to keep trying. To keep
Now,
calling.
when you leave, and I've managed to sort through this, is your hunch you're going to go away thinking, well, it's a heck of a lot of it, but nothing of enormous quality, or is the stuff that's really going to solve this crime?
There are lots and lots of good and very useful calls in there. There's some good leads, names mentioned more than once, some very good leads, in fact, amongst this lot.
The man, and we've got a fairly good description of him. Got an he's short, 5'5", he's fairly tubby. He was wearing these distinctive clothes. He had some fruit of the loom. I mean, they're very common actually. These tracksuit bottoms, but distinctive in as much as they were short even on him, and he was only 5'5".
That's right. They looked like they were too short for him, so they were a very short pair, or perhaps they've shrunk or something like that.
Some people have pointed out that they're issued sometimes to people leaving prison. I gather one woman rang really quite hysterically saying something about those and thinking she knew who this man was.
That's right. There was a lady who was convinced she knew who it was. She was very upset. We didn't get her name. She didn't give us the full details. We would like her to call us back.
Thank you very much.
Well, we needed names for our next 4 faces. Let's see how we got on. Firstly, the deception in Hanover Square. We've had 3 calls to the incident room, so generally very disappointing. So if you know who this guy is, please give us a call. The 2 guys for the suspected of the robbery in Crystal Palace. About 20 callers altogether. At the moment, nothing of significance. So again, if you know where and who these 2 are, please still keep ringing in. The Euston deception was by far the best result we've had so far. We've had, would you believe, 7 people have rung in with the same name for this chap, so I think we're going to hear some good news about that. And finally, the computer deception in Leeds. We've had 3 calls to the studio and 10 to the incident room, and 2 names have been given the same, so again, some excellent results there.
Well, we've been rather encouraged by the response to our next case. It was always going to be a very difficult one. Julie Smith was a mother who lived on an estate in Hull on Humberside. Her marriage had broken up and her children were no longer living with her. But worse still, it seems someone had a grudge against her. Julie died soon after being rescued from the blaze. Well, Graham Bullock, you appealed for a number of people seen at the scene to come forward. How have you got on with that?
It's been very encouraging so far. We've had in total about 60 calls. Many of those relate to suggested identities of the man in the e-fit in the hoop shirt. And there have also been some suggestions as to the lads on bicycles in the area, so we're very encouraged with what we've got so far.
Where were you particularly interested in the man in the rugby shirt?
Well, as I mentioned before, when you look at the psychology of arson, it is often the case that the people who are involved in offences like this will return to the scene of the crime. I've already said that may or may not be the case in this instance, but it's essential we speak to him.
Now, you believe that Julie had been heard arguing with a man in the house the night that she was murdered. Nothing significant on that?
No, I'm a bit disappointed about that. We haven't had any calls to date with that, and again, it's imperative that we trace that man.
Thanks very much indeed.
Well, first, Mohammed Farag Salim. We've had a dozen calls there with 2 leads to be followed up that look very promising indeed. Then passport deceptions. Well, that's a truly international result with 25 calls, a lot with names suggested for all the faces, including 3 that link us to the same company and 2 taking us to a foreign destination. Then on to Paul James Bennett. We've had 7 calls there, all very promising, and the officer in the case is following up 2 of those absolutely now. Patrick Duggan, 35 calls with links to knowledge that the officers already have about him, and they're being followed up, so it looks very promising. And then finally, the Crossling brothers, a dozen calls with some addresses to check. Ideally, if you know where the Crossling brothers are now, please call us. Altogether, a very promising result.
Well, now the truly appalling crime in London in which a young woman was abducted from St Michael's Street near Paddington in broad daylight, blindfolded, bundled into a car by these two men and raped before being dumped in Wembley the following day. Well, Andrew Silly, how are you getting on with your inquiries?
It's been quite encouraging. We've had 60 to 70 calls on the matter. We've had a suggested name and address for the elderly lady, and we'll clearly be following that up. That's been encouraging. We've had a number of names put forward, which we will be following up, and we've had a number of sightings, possible sightings of people fitting the descriptions given.
And possibly further afield from London?
That's right, stretching well away from London, in fact, and we'll be following those up.
Now, we wanted to know, of course, where the poor girl was taken, where the rape took place. No significant calls there
We've
yet.
had nothing at all in relation to that, and I'm a little disappointed. We've got to say that the person who let those people in the house knows what he did. Maybe neighbours also are aware of what's going on in that house and that room. Please, please, please think about the horrific nature of that offence and get in touch with us even if you only think you may know something.
And finally and briefly, she was left and taken to Wembley High Street the following day, Thursday, July the 3rd, around 11 o'clock. It was a busy street, wasn't it? Perhaps someone saw something happening.
That's right, and we know that there were a lot of people around at the time. If you saw a car dumping a girl out of it, please get in touch with us.
Thank you very much.
Finally, the armed robbery in a jeweller's in Kingston in Surrey back in August.
Get your head down or I'll blow it off. Get it down! And you, get your heads down. If you do what you're told, you won't get hurt. Open the windows.
Ron Harvey, it was a horrid crime, but you've been looking really delighted tonight.
We've had some really good calls on this. Firstly, I identified the woman that went into the shop to warn the shopkeepers.
She had seen in the morning some guys hanging around outside with a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah,
they were looking very suspicious. You found that woman.
Yeah, we'll be speaking to her tomorrow, so we're pleased about that.
She's a key witness.
Absolutely. We've had a number of calls, some from the trade, about Rolex watches and Cartier watches.
That's this array. We've got Rolexes here, Cartiers there. Incidentally, the serial numbers are on page 598 of CFAX. You've got some people calling in about those.
Yeah, which we need to follow up.
What about the gang itself?
We've had some interesting calls about that we need to follow up. I can't really say much more than that.
I was to take a look at the e-fit of the one that was identified most of all. This was seen by one of the shopkeepers.
Yeah.
Interesting calls. You're being very coy, which suggests that they're really rather good, aren't they?
Absolutely. We've had quite a few names for the e-fit. The calls we have had, we are going to follow up, are very interesting. That's all I can really say.
Thank you.
Well, that's all for this month. Our lines are closed now here in the studio, but you'll see other numbers in a moment. They're also listed on CFAX, page 598. If you're online, you can email us at Crimewatch UK. That's cwuk@bbc.co.uk. And if you've any information on a crime we haven't covered this evening, try Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
We'll be back next month on Tuesday, December the 16th. And watch out too for a special appeal, Crimewatch Still Unsolved. That's 3 weeks from now, Tuesday, December the 2nd. It's a new twist on notorious cases we've failed to crack till now, but a new chance for you to help to solve them. Meantime, for all the murder and mayhem we show on Crimewatch, Britain has one of the lowest murder rates in the whole of the world, and other crime rates are starting to fall, perhaps with the help of the sort of calls we're getting tonight. So don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.